You know that feeling, right? That intense, almost paralyzing sensation that everyone, and I mean everyone, is looking at you? I bet you do. Well, that feeling has a name, and we're about to break down exactly what it is, the spotlight effect.
Seriously? Have you ever walked into a room and just felt like every single head turned your way? Or maybe you said something a little weird in a meeting, and for the rest of the day you were just convinced that's the only thing anyone would remember about you. If any of that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. It's a universal human thing.
Okay, picture this. You're walking down a pretty busy street, you're in your own world, and then bam, you catch your foot on some uneven pavement and you stumble. Instantly, your face gets hot. You're just certain every single person on that street saw it. And not only that, they're judging you, maybe even laughing.
Or what about this one? You wake up and your hair is just doing its own thing. It's not cooperating at all, and you have to go out. All day long, you can't shake the feeling that your hair is like a giant flashing beacon of awkwardness, drawing all this negative attention. You feel like it's the only thing people see when they look at you. So in both of those moments, the feeling is exactly the same, right? It's not just a small annoyance. It's this crushing sensation that you're on a stage under this huge, harsh spotlight with 100 pairs of eyes just zoomed in on your every mistake. But what if I told you that spotlight is mostly just in your head?
And look, this isn't just you being paranoid or overthinking things. This powerful feeling actually has a name in psychology. And just understanding what it is, that's the first real step to getting a handle on it. It's called the spotlight effect. And what it is really is a cognitive bias where we consistently, and I mean way overestimate, how much other people are noticing our actions and our appearance. The keyword there is overestimate. It's not a fact, it's a predictable glitch in how we see the world.
So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If it's just a glitch in our brains, why does it feel so incredibly real and so powerful? Why are we wired to feel like we're the star of a movie that everyone else is watching?
Well, the psychology behind it is actually fascinating. First up, there's something called an egocentric bias. It makes sense, right? We live our entire lives from our own perspective. We are literally the center of our own universe. So of course, we assume we're a bigger deal to others than we are. Then you've got this information gap. You know every single detail about your stumble or your messy hair, but you have zero idea what's going on in anyone else's head. And finally, there's this idea of an anchor. Our own intense feelings act as an anchor. We're so stuck on how embarrassed we feel that we completely fail to adjust for the simple fact that everyone else is just as busy being anchored in their own lives.
Okay, so we know what it is and we know why it happens. Now for the really liberating part. Let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual gap between what we feel and what's really going on. This is where it gets good.
This just lays it out perfectly. In your mind, that stumble on the sidewalk was a massive, life-altering catastrophe that strangers will tell their grandchildren about. But in their reality, most of them didn't even notice. And the few who did, well, they registered it for maybe half a second before their brains immediately went back to worrying about a deadline, what to make for dinner, or, their own bad hair day.
And hey, there's actual data on this. In studies where they had people wear, say, an embarrassing t-shirt into a room, they asked them to guess how many people noticed. On average, they guessed about half the room saw it, but in reality, it was closer to 20, maybe 25%. We consistently think double the number of people are paying attention to us than they actually are. That feeling that everyone is watching is, scientifically, just not true.
I mean, this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? So much of the anxiety we feel about what other people think is built on this totally false idea, the idea that they're thinking about us much at all. The truth is, they're probably not.
So, knowing all this is one thing, but what can you actually do when you're in that moment, when you feel that heat rising in your face? Let's get into a really practical toolkit you can use to dim that imaginary spotlight yourself. It's a simple 3-step process you can do anywhere. Step 1 is just to notice. Don't fight the feeling, just acknowledge it. Okay, I'm feeling that anxious being watched feeling right now. Step 2, name it. In your head, just say, oh, right, this is the spotlight effect. It's like calling out the monster under the bed. When you give it a name, it's not some big, scary truth anymore. It's just a common cognitive bias. It loses its power. And finally, step 3, shift. Actively, intentionally shift your focus outward. Look at the color of the walls. Listen to the conversation happening nearby. Ask someone a question. Do anything to get out of your own head and into the world around you.
And this is so important to remember. The point of all this isn't to become invisible or just blend into the background.
It's about taking back all that mental energy you're spending on a fictional audience so you can be more present, more authentic, and just more free to be yourself.
Ultimately, what this all boils down to is a really simple truth. You aren't performing for an audience. The world isn't a stage where you're the main actor. You're just a participant, just like everybody else. And you're free to stumble, have a weird hair day, make a silly joke, and just live.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. If you truly, deeply believed that nobody was watching, nobody was judging, what would you do differently? What things would you try? Who would you be? The answer to that question? Well, that's where the real freedom starts.